entrepreneurship, and today is also an international destination with this very unique summit being jointly hosted by India and the United States. Very delighted to be hosting this session this morning on owning your message as a brand, be it on traditional media or social media. And who better to educate us on this, have a very terrific panel here, the guru of messaging in India, Piyush Pandey, and Teresa Nelson Carpenter, who is a veteran of the music industry in Hollywood. And very warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so let me get started by introducing the topic, and then we will go around and each of us will share our thoughts with opening remarks. And then we'll drive the conversation further with a few questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So in this day and age, owning the message is so important, with smartphones and viral social media, that any brand has no option but to be having a digital presence and constantly engaging and communicating with audiences. Two episodes in recent times come to mind, one from India and one from the United States, which sort of underscore why owning your message becomes so important in this era. One was a popular household brand in India, Maggi Noodles, which went through a very traumatic experience due to certain controversies around ingredients in food. And it was a classic example of how an established brand like Nestle had to cope with a crisis, literally communicating 24/7 on social media, traditional media, to take control of their message. Another example that comes to mind is from the United States, where you had this viral video of a man being forced off a plane, and you had the largest airlines, United Airlines, really struggling to take control of their message. Because once the video went viral on social media, it created a whole perception about United Airlines. We saw similar incidents in India as well, with Indigo as well.
Sorry. God.
We are definitely live.
So practically every brand today is sort of on trial 24/7 on social media, which sort of makes it very important to own your message. And with messaging apps like WhatsApp, which are person to person, and things can go viral and you don't even have a way of measuring it, and that just exacerbates the problem. So owning your message is not just about communicating, and as we'll learn more from our panelists here. It's also important to listen, engage, and learn. And one fine example of that is what we in India, especially as a public broadcaster, are very proud of, which is Prime Minister Modi's Mann Ki Baat. I think it's a fantastic example of how traditional media and social media can come together to engage with audiences. If you look at the various things that the Prime Minister was able to do using Mann Ki Baat, like selfie with daughter, which not only went viral in India, but went viral across the globe on Twitter. And you had people from all over the world posting pictures, selfies with their daughters, and which brought to attention the whole issue of the girl child and women's empowerment. So that's one great example. Another was Incredible India, where promoting India as a tourist destination. Again, a great example of how the Prime Minister melded both traditional and social media. So these are two examples that we are very proud of as India's public broadcaster on how you could innovatively use this medium to engage with audiences. Today we have close to 100 handles on Twitter and Facebook across our network of Doordarshan and All India Radio, which are actively engaging with audiences. I know this perception of the public broadcaster in India being very archaic, and but we have made that transition to the digital era. And it's kind of very important because if you look at India today, it's a very young nation, and India's youth are constantly on their smartphones, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all new platforms that we probably are not even fully aware of. And so it becomes very important to have that connect with the youth, capture their imagination, and listen to them, engage with them, and respond to them very creatively. And that leads me to Piyushji, if you could share your thoughts.
I think I have to rewind a little bit. When you talk about Maggie, I am also reminded of my own experience with Cadbury.
Okay.
You can't hear me? How can I hear myself clearly? Can you hear me now? All right, I'll shout. It takes me to my personal experience on Cadbury's. Some 10 years back, Cadbury's went through a problem. Now, social media is only a small answer. The bigger answer is about owning your message, building a relationship. Both Maggie and Cadbury's were forgiven by its consumers because of 30 years of making your message very clear, 30 years of earning the trust of the people. If I know you very well, if I believe in you, then I can say, okay, today you slipped and broke a leg. I'm willing to forgive you for that. Social media becomes important in this day and age for quick answering. It cannot help you build a brand overnight. A brand needs interaction. A brand needs a message. Cadbury's Dairy Milk was built over so many years of building a relationship with the people. Maggie was built, I think Maggie made its first rupee in India after some 20 odd years, but they kept building its relationship. So I think it is extremely important for us to be on the new media, but the more important thing is not what are you present on, but who are you, what do you want to say, and on social media is how quickly you respond and don't hide. That is my take, and it's a balance of all kinds of media. I mean, you took a great example of the Prime Minister. I have done the Above the Line campaign for him in 2014, and he had a team of people, a solid team of people which was doing the social media bit. It's a combination of both, so let nobody in this room fool himself or herself that I will build a brand and build it very fast just by being on social media. You have to remember that, and she's going to talk a lot about music later. I am one of the users of what she does. What sound and visual can do, this 4-inch screen cannot do for you. It is only a reminder, and a fantastic reminder. It is a way of keeping contact with you on a day-to-day basis, but is it going to make a lasting impression on your heart? That's where I always say that products are made in factories, but brands are made in the hearts of the people. And unless you touch the heart, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you have to earn that loyalty, and it doesn't happen overnight. I have a film and TV music company in Hollywood, and we are trying to, of course, impress clients such as our dear friend here and our broadcast network to utilize our services for creating music and or perhaps helping them strategize on the use of music within their brands. For us, one thing that is very important, you have to make sure that what it is that you are saying and you are imparting on social media is verifiable, it's truthful, because anybody is going to see right through that. And what you put on social media lasts forever. You can talk to our president about that, and I'm sure you'd know. I can tell you that with, that's the key to the performance. I will tell you there are two things that are important: patience and consistency. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to be patient, and you have to be consistent with your message and your brand. For us, one of the biggest forms of social media that's very, very important to us is Twitter. Because in Twitter, in a very short bite, I can tell you what we're doing, and I can slap up a video of music that has our music. Like if you look at our Twitter site, you will see a recent posting from the Spider-Man movie. And you say, you want to see Parker do a little bit of some Latin dance? Well, check it out. That's our music branded with Spider-Man, and we've got somebody interested to say, oh, I wonder what project they're going to do next. Well, we just followed that up with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We have the main montage scene. It was so well received that it was subsequently used in advertising and in merchandising. So social media can bring about a change in a brand. And you talk about crisis management. One of the important things to do is tell the truth. If you're at fault, tell the truth, make an immediate apology, and move on. Because your core audience, your core loyal fans and customers, they're going to be there for you. Like you said, they're going to forgive that hiccup. But, if you try to cover up something, it's not going to happen. In the music industry, one of the things that, we have struggles with is that we have stars, we have artists, and sometimes they don't always act like they should. And, the companies who work with them, we're kind of left with the fallout. And what we try to do is we're not going to make an excuse for them, because quite frankly, we're going to engage their management and say, you get on message with your artists. But we're going to say, no one's perfect, but have you heard this music? And just bring the conversation forward. We're not going to deny it. We're going to be out there and say, yeah, that happened. And, we don't condone that. But we also have an artist that is amazing and that we'd like for you to be interested in. Here's what they've been doing lately. But I will tell you, patience and consistency, and really know your brand. And that's what I'd like to add.
I just want to add to your patience bit. And this is for heavy users of social media. Please do not be trigger happy.
Yeah.
As my mother used to say, the word that leaves your mouth never returns. So it's the same for social media. Everyone's very trigger happy. When I don't use the Twitter because I don't believe in myself. Right. I know that I'll be saying sorry for the rest of my life. And there's a big difference between all of us have seen Western movies. In Western movies, there's a duel. Duel is not shoot from the hip. You at least get 10 steps to think about it, and then you turn around and shoot. Right. So I definitely believe that take that 1 minute off. Think of the consequence of pressing that button.
Absolutely.
Because your pressing a wrong button will damage something that you've created for decades. So I think it's a great medium, but it is not a medium that can stand on its own. You must have a message, and you must use the medium to what it delivers. It delivers a lot. You can segment the market to a certain extent. Yeah. Not that you'll reach each one individually, but you can get sets of people and influence. I mean, this is a women's theme conference. I must share it with you as to what one of my clients, Asian Paints, does. It does traditional media brilliantly to build the message that I'm a home decor company. On the other side, what they did last year on social media, they came up with a fantastic idea that why don't we have women painters? Mm-hmm. Women are more artistically inclined than most of us are. And they're doing some other jobs. Why not have a team of trained women painters? So maybe on social media you can go on to the story of Saroj. And they put a team together, and suddenly a new opportunity for young ladies came up. So that, when you go on social media, adds to the reputation of you as a socially responsible company. Brands you sell on traditional media to build a bond with people.
Fantastic. So that leads me to another question, maybe stepping up back a little from social media and looking at media in general. When you worked on the Ab Ki Baar Modi Sarkar campaign, so how did it work across different mediums? What were the lessons that you learned in terms of the effectiveness of the message?
I think, yeah, there's a very interesting story I'll tell you about this. We were doing Ab Ki Baar Modi Sarkar, and when we launched the campaign, it was a very serious campaign with the testimonials of people saying that there's enough of corruption, there's enough of this, there's enough of that, and morbid topics. I mean, somebody not willing to send her daughter out beyond 6 o'clock. And they said, there's no safety. So we started that campaign. We went on to television. We went on to all mass media. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is what I learned from that exercise. One day I get a call from BJP saying that the World T20 is starting. That was the same time, World Cup T20. And they said, we have bought a lot of media. So I said, God, this is trouble. Because that is a very youth-centric tournament. That is a very fast tournament. That is a tournament with a high intensity. I cannot go in the middle of it with a morbid. The mood is of celebrating. I cannot go in with a campaign which is morbid. So I went to the government and I said, you know what? Nobody has done it in the world ever, but I'll do a political campaign using animation. So they laughed at me a little bit. They said, you're going to use animation? I said, yeah, I'm going to use animation to fit the mood of the audience on the media that you have chosen. And I did 18 animation commercials. I'll describe one to you. There is an umpire and there is a cricketer. And there's a commentary running. The umpire is ready for the toss. One captain has come. Where is the other captain? Because the other leading party had not announced their captain. So, and the voiceover says, I'll say it in Hindi first and I'll translate it for the others. It says, बिना कैप्टन की टीम जाएगी हार, इसीलिए अब की बार मोदी सरकार. Which means the team without the captain is going to lose, therefore you need Modi's government. And we did 18 of these. So I think the biggest lesson is know your audience, know the mood of your audience, know their practices, and take your topic. Don't ever deviate from the message you're giving. I did satire in this one. I did emotional in the other one. The message everywhere was, Ab ki baar Modi Sarkar. So you need to craft it, you got to mold it, but stay the course. That is what owning your message is all about.
Exactly.
Teresa, when we were chatting, before the session, you had talked about different kinds of social media platforms and not every one of them being used effectively or as much, but then each one has its own strengths. If you could maybe amplify on that and also talk a bit about what kind of messaging works on which platform based on your experience.
Okay, so Facebook. Our company feels very comfortable on Facebook. That's more of a presence for us. What is key to us, and one of our major sources, as I said, was Twitter. But then what I think is one of the most underutilized social platforms is Instagram. People are using that more for a personal connection. But it is a powerful branding tool that I think we're going to see a resurgence in the future by utilizing that. Also, if you think about LinkedIn, we all know that as a professional way to connect. In our business, we're connecting to the users of our music through LinkedIn, through our Twitter, through our Facebook, but we're also our fans. We are connecting through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you know that those platforms provide for a very different type of message. We can go long form on Facebook. We've only got a certain amount of characters on Twitter. And then on LinkedIn, pretty stoic because it's our business platform. And then Instagram, wow, fun. That's almost considered our Snapchat because we don't really use Snapchat that much. But Instagram is something where we can take a picture of a moment. When we roll out our message about, let's say we have a new film that we are the music supervisors for. So as we are able to share information about the work that we're doing, we're planning that rollout. And that rollout starts with our presence on Facebook, Real Music Works. We are the music company for this particular movie. We did Top Cat with Animea Studios out of Mexico, and we have done each of their big films. Now, this is an animation film that has done tremendous success globally. We were able to talk through with our fans and with our potential client base exactly how we were creating the music for this program, working with the directors and producers. And so the key thing here is that, as you said, we're not bombarding the message. We're not just throwing out there just to have something in social media. It's planned, because what you want to create is dependency. Dependency on your message and dependency on, wow, what is next? What is going to happen? So when we have artists come into the studio and they're recording, we're going to take a picture of that, and where we can give you a visual and audio of what we're doing, we do that. We have our artists come out and speak about the experience of writing music for the different projects. And again, Facebook, we can do long form. If you look at our Twitter account, you will see all the varying different types of posts, from the usage of our music to the process of creation to, wow, what kind of music do we have that perhaps our Frontier could use in one of their campaigns? So be thoughtful about your process, and I would say that Twitter is, I mean, for us, it's number one. And Instagram is a close second, because we are consuming media very quickly. We want instant gratification. And we're getting kind of a mixed message with the brand, because we're being told, yeah, you have to take time in order to get engagement and to really qualify that engagement. But you know what? Our audience needs to have instant gratification. The way they get that is through being able to use the varying different medias, Twitter being one, so very effectively, but planned, not just bombarding with any type of message. Really have a planned rollout. And it's been really, it's worked out great for us and very successful.
I think I just want to add, there's another myth, and that has to be shattered. Like Twitter is a short format. Lots of people think that YouTube and Facebook, these are inexpensive things. So I can do any length I want. No, a story has its own length. If you bore people by showing something because you got the luxury of length, don't fool yourself again. I think a message has a span where it holds and holds beautifully. Don't pull it longer. It's like one of those, I won't name anyone, those 3-hour-long movies that we see. We saw one on wrestling. I had done a 1-minuter 2 years back using Geeta Fogart for JSW Steel. Somebody wrote on Twitter saying, if you don't have 3 hours, just go and see that 1-minute film. It is the same thing.
In fact, that brings an interesting dimension, especially with digital platforms, is the measurability, right? You know what works, what doesn't work. Like, you could measure and know at what point audiences drop off in a video, right? Is it the first 30 seconds, first 15 seconds, 1 minute, whatever, right? And all the analytics in every platform, be it Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, is not only telling you as a brand what is working, what is not working, but it is also fragmenting your audiences, right? Because now you have to target your message differently to different segments, and you have the ability to do that with each of these platforms. And in India, we have another complexity, which is the diversity of a country, the number of languages. So Piyush, if you could throw some light on how do you tailor
one
messages?
measurement you talked about, and I think this is a very foolish measurement that people seek. They say, and I put this on YouTube and I got 3 million hits. I think 2.9 of them were misses, they were not hits. It's not about numbers, it's share of heart. It is the impact. I saw something is one measurement. Did I like something? That measurement will never change. So I think I take measurements with a pinch of salt. Lots of people tell me, and a whole lot of people pay for that measurement anyway. You put something on YouTube and you promote it on that, and it gives you 2 million hits. Sorry, those numbers don't work with me. It is when I meet people like you and you talk to me and tell me, I love that ad of yours that you've done. That satisfies me a lot more than 10,000 likes on the net.
Well, you know, I think you hear from people that they like your ad. They might have seen it on those different platforms. You know,
Yeah.
for us, you know, YouTube is a very important vehicle.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and having those analytics really does help guide us. But you're right, it's not the end-all, be-all. Because we
At the
need
end
to...
of the day, what you have put on that,
Yeah.
somebody once asked me, a client, can you do a viral film for me? I said, how the hell do you do a viral film? I can do a good film for you, which, with the grace of God, might go viral.
Right.
I can't make a viral film, I'm not God. So I think what you put on YouTube, what you put on Facebook, it better be something that you want to share with a whole lot of people. If it's not good enough, then your numbers don't matter.
And you know what, viral is fine, but viral has a definite period of time
Yeah.
and a lifespan. When you're building a brand, you don't want it to be viral.
Yeah.
You know, you can have a few viral moments, but you want it to be long-lasting.
Yeah, this morning, while I was prepping for this session, I was desperately searching to find Piyush Pandey on Twitter. I couldn't find a Twitter profile. I couldn't find him on LinkedIn. He's not on social media. But I found you on LinkedIn.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so really,
Somebody manages a Facebook page for me.
Okay.
I don't know who it is, somebody who likes me. I have not complained. I have not complained till now because the person has been very, very correct in what he's done.
So you're active on social media. So how do you sort of balance the between being professional versus personalizing? In
Well,
your
one of the things
communication
that's
on social
important is that we are a brand. Real Music Works is a brand. And we create music for audiovisual. We protect that creation, and then we collect the revenue from it. Now, we have artists that we work with. And yes, we want to be able to promote those artists, or we have clients, and we want to be able to promote those clients. But the thing that's very important is that you have to keep center focus your brand. You cannot make it so individual about a certain project that they forget about where that project came from or who is the actual person that's promoting it. So we are Real Music Works, but boy, we're so glad to be working with our friends here in India, and here is one of the campaigns, just as we did for the motion pictures Spider-Man: The Homecoming and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We are in the process of working on the American Crime Story for Versace. And so we happen to have 6 songs that are being utilized because we have a 10,000 Cuban copyright catalog. And we are going to be able to really kind of expand that social media rollout because we have so many different scenes that are going to use our music that we're going to have a nice run. But we have to be careful not to make it all about the American Crime Story. It's about Real Music Works, who created that music that's being used. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. So if you're an individual, that's kind of interesting. You are the brand and the individual, right? Mm-hmm. So, that maybe that's a bit easier, okay. But for us as a company, we have to keep true to that company.
I think what you mentioned earlier regarding the diversity in our country, the number of languages, the number of social strata, I think that's where the soul is more important than anything else. You very, very often end up creating one piece of communication that runs around the country, and you don't want to be the lowest common denominator, you want to be the best. So therefore, excessive segmentation is probably a bad addiction that you should be careful of. That's what I want to add.
Sometimes, though, I just want to make one other comment. Localization is important. If you have a project that is going to go global, you have to be able to meet the needs of the different culture and languages. So, for us, it's mostly, English and...
Looking at your business, a lot of stuff that my team does for Fevicol has not a single word in it. It's music and a visual story. So it runs in Kerala as well as it runs in Jammu and Kashmir.
And
so
that's what's wonderful. When you don't, and even the spoken English repertoire is still universal in many respects. And music is half the equation. Even silent films were all about music. Can you imagine seeing Gone with the Wind and not hearing that theme song? So music does matter in any type of audiovisual product or on its own. It's something we remember the times of our life through music.
They're celebrating 50 years of the good, bad, the ugly music.
You know, Marconi.
As we talk.
Is that wonderful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And how many times has that been used in advertising?
Yeah.
And what an effective campaign. That's an evergreen piece of music. So we're trying to build that type of IP so that it lasts for that long of a period, yeah.
Let me take the conversation slightly in a different direction. One of my visits since I took over as the CEO of the public broadcaster was to visit our various radio stations. So I was visiting the All India radio station in Ahmedabad, and I was stunned at the amount of postcards and inland letters they still
Fantastic
get
it is.
from remote corners of India, right? So in your experience, you know, in reaching out to audiences, especially audiences who are still very traditional, listening to radio, probably reading newspapers and so on, what works with that audience in terms of message?
I think human stories will work for the sorry, for the youngster of today, and they'll work for my aunt. We have to find that pulse of the people, and depending on your audience. I mean, look at this. You're talking about old music and people writing back. Recently, Saregama has launched that radio kind of a thing with 5,000 songs. It is an amazing product. So somebody said that that audience exists. I mean, I ended up on Rakhi, which is a day that we celebrate our sisters. I did not give my sisters Rakhi money. I gave them all one radio. So I think magic works there. I mean, you're talking about this. If you follow the weekly programs at Shanmukhanand Hall, there are artists who are specialized in doing a Kishore Kumar. They're specialized in singing somebody else's songs. And that house is full. Cinema halls are not full. That house is full. That's music.
Right.
So I think you need to remember that somewhere down the line, expressions may change, but the soul of a human being will not change ever. Find that right chord, attack that right chord.
In fact, something interesting in the United States as well, I believe, with this whole trend towards cord cutting, that you have the young generation now discovering that you have free-to-air TV and you can watch NFL for free, right? So what are you learning in terms of the generational changes and how messaging works with different generations of consumers?
Wow. You know what? I have an 84-year-old father who is on the internet night and day because his mind keeps on ticking, right? And he is a lover of music and of audiovisual. And he's doing the same thing I'm doing. So I think that what's old is actually new again. And we are seeing that while you can get free sites where you can watch programming or experience music, one of the things that we need to bring forward is teaching our young people about IP and how important intellectual property is and rights of music and the visual. And we're seeing that they're interested in gaming and things that are new technology and being able to reach them in that media. Our brand and what we produce, we have to be relevant in that area. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to make, programming that fits on a cell phone. We want to be able to, they're not watching TV, they're on their computer.
How many of you, when was the last time you went to a disco?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have one gentleman.
We have one champion there.
Okay.
Go to a disco as an observer. There are 15 people on the dance floor. And then the DJ puts Mere Piya Gaye Rangoon. And there are 100 people on the dance floor. So there is a chord. There is a chord that
Yeah.
you need to touch.
I mean, DJs, look at David Guetta. I mean, he plays and everyone goes nuts. It's the best, you know? It's taking, you know, pre-existing music and spinning it a different way and being able to consume that, not just in person, where, I mean, who would have thought years ago that we would be going to a DJ concert and not seeing a live artist sing and perform and dance? I mean, this is what our generation is evolving to. But you know what? You talked about that personal note, that human touch. When you hear someone perform live, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
True.
So I'll pose one last question before we open it up to the audience. A big issue that's gripped, you know, both India, US, across the world, you know, fake news and with the rise of artificial intelligence and bots, you no longer know who you're communicating with, whether it's a human or an algorithm with an agenda, right? So how do you see, you know, brands and messaging, you know, deal with this challenge as we get more and more into this terrain where technology is becoming very, you know, playing a very anarchic role?
I think the best answer is to respond very quickly. The best answer is that you cannot take away fake messaging, like you can't take away rumors from life. I mean, one guy stands and creates a ruckus out there, there's a fire, and we might have a stampede in this room. So I think you've got to live with that as quickly as you can possibly do it, put an end to it, and hold on to your owning your message, which is the theme of this discussion. If you are consistent in owning your message, there will be detractors who will try and do things, but you hang in there. If you hang in there, you cannot lose the game.
You have to be honest in what you put out there. It has to be verifiable. Even if we share an article, we make sure that it's from a reputable source, that it has been verified, and that it is truthful. Truth is important. So your message, it needs to be able to, you have to back it up. If somebody said, we don't believe that you had that song in that movie, well, guess what? We can say, here's a clip, and here's our end title credits. Yeah, we do have that music in that picture or that television program. But then again, if we're commenting on something, it is verifiable, and we are very, very keen on that. So that's how we combat that fake news and who we're dealing with. Truth will always win out.
Great. So with that, we'll open up the floor. Yeah. So if you could keep your questions crisp and direct, that'll be great. And also tell us who you are and, you know, who the question is for.
Very much for the extremely insightful panel discussion. My name is Satya Kiran. I'm a professor of management and a researcher at Nanyang University, Singapore. So you have been the dawn of Indian advertising. You've seen India before 1991, which was a one-channel country, into a country which has a multitude of channels. I often quote this: Operation Neptune Spear, May 2nd, 2011, when Osama bin Laden was bummed off, one of the most secretive operations in the history of the world. The news of the assassination came not from traditional media, neither print nor electronic, but by a tweet sent by a guy who was next to the compound in Abbottabad in Pakistan. My questions are, we are all digital natives. Sorry, we are digital immigrants. My son is a digital native. At age 4, he skillfully uses an iPad. And for him, theater, cinema is Netflix and Amazon Prime. Do you see Indian cinema moving from the big screen to your tab? The question is Indian cinema and
I don't think there is going to be a black and white change. Both will coexist, and he will know better. How many times has media written off radio? You're talking about 1990? Radio is dead. That was the news. Radio is alive and kicking right now. Then they said cinema halls are dead. So these multiplexes came up. Now they'll say newsprint is dead, and somebody will come up with some other innovation. So I think change is inevitable. Change is never going to be in black and white. we will have to embrace change and be able to convey our message in whatever format your child might be watching it on or some elderly gentleman might be watching it on. Content is king and will be king always. Formats may change and evolve. So I think only thing I can say is that have a great story and then decide what medium is being used by people.
There's nothing like going to a motion picture cinema house and hearing music in Dolby Atmos and seeing the visual in Dolby Vision. You don't get that on a tablet. So the experience of what you were talking about in these state-of-the-art facilities, go see Star Wars in the theater and then look at it on a tablet and you tell me what's exciting. Yes, that's going to be the ancillary use of the film, but boy, the impact.
Right.
You will remember that for the rest of your life.
We have a question.
Another
here.
question, just to give you an analogy. If everything is available on the tab, will the world stop traveling and tourism will come to dead? I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Please.
Hi, I'm Sonal.
If you could speak into the mic, please.
Hi, I'm Sonal. I'm the maker of India's first healthy dairy-free ice creams called White Cub. I wish this session had never ended. This was the best one since 28th November, personally for me. Two short questions, first to you, ma'am. So what are the ideal components of consistency for a bootstrapped business? Because you said consistency. So we are here looking for some really smart tips by experts like you. And so second question directed to Sir. What are the chances of, say, an Abki Bar Modi Sarkar kind of a very strong, effective message emerging from a small budget, small number of people of team?
I can tell you for a bootstrap business, because that's how I started mine, self-funded, I will tell you that tell your story. As you grow, allow your story to be told. And I think that, again, don't be afraid to have a little bit of time between your posts. You don't want to have months and months, but as you're growing, I think that you can have an opinion in the area of which your specialty is, so you can add that to the conversation. You can also, one of the things that I loved is that when I was starting out in my company, I was asked to speak at different conferences, and what that allowed me to do was to have a presence in social media to say, oh, while we are growing this part of our business, our CEO went and spoke about this particular subject, and we were able to highlight the challenges in women in business, especially in the music industry, which is a very male-dominated industry, but guess what? We're making strides. So there are different ways to be able to keep yourself in the news and keep yourself moving forward. Be able to celebrate your successes, but then also, discuss your challenges, because you'd be amazed at who's out there that might even have a solution for you that you would have never thought. But be very, very careful about what you put out there. The stamp you make in social media is forever. It lives forever.
I think the answer to what you asked is, first you have to decide for yourself what is your brand ambition. If your ambition is to cater to vegans, or is your ambition that you will make fantastic vegan dishes which anybody can enjoy? I think you'll have to, the answers are not that easy. You'll have to answer what is it that, how do you want to scale it up?
Right.
You want to test it out in your colony, then that defines it. So have a nice message and define for yourself what is your brand ambition. I think that's the starting point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon, dignitaries. My name is
Talking to the
Can
mic.
you hold it?
Good afternoon. My name is Vignesh, and I run a multilingual content collaboration platform called Tartle. And my question is very specific to Piyush sir. Is that Apple as a brand, very curious to know your perspective. There are rules for advertising and branding. And that is one brand which I personally feel that they don't follow any basics of what you call advertising or branding. That's what it is told. So what is your perspective about the brand Apple?
I think you have to look back and say that they may not have a line like just do it, right? But the soul of Apple is design. Nothing but design. If you understand that soul, if they believe in that soul and keep giving you products one after the other and you say, what a piece of design, then the company stands for design. You don't, if I ask you people who live in this country, what is the tagline for Fevicol? Anyone wants to attempt? I have never used it. Fevicol does not have a tagline. It only has a descriptor which says the ultimate adhesive. We do anything we feel like, but the soul of Fevicol is that life is beautiful when nothing is broken. And that's what comes through in every piece of work that we do for them.
Good
The
afternoon.
lady at the back. Yeah. Yeah, please.
It's wonderful to be here and listening to you. You're talking about effectively managing social media, but you haven't spoken about WhatsApp at all.
Well, you know what? You know, we definitely connect through WhatsApp, and when we have our message, it is across all platforms. Basically, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we do WhatsApp. But I would say that we don't focus in as much on that, except that we do have staff members that sit and they do have a discussion. But again, we're being very, very careful because it's a slippery slope when you're on a conversational type of social media. So for us, you're gonna see the same message, but put in a different way depending on the ability of the platform. You're gonna see the same message. So we're there to answer questions, but not really to spark of a conversation unless it's about the project.
Let me add to your question on WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp clearly is a challenge in the sense that it's a viral medium, very hard to measure. You have no idea what is going, how messages are spreading. Very hard to control, fake news or wrong messaging. So it's I think one of the challenges that especially political campaigns, because the speed with which faulty messaging goes viral on WhatsApp is a big challenge, and it's something that all of us have to apply our minds on, how to solve.
Yeah. I am Vinod Singh, running educational institution and into organic farming. See, nowadays students are addicted to social media like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. So how social media can be used as effective tool in education?
In education? Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of innovative uses of social media, especially video platforms like YouTube. I mean, Khan Academy is a great example of how short educational messages. I share a lot of physics videos with my sons. This 2-minute physics videos, which in 2 minutes explains the physics phenomenon. So there's a lot of potential for educational content, and so I see that increasing. What you'll also look forward to in the years to come is more collaborative learning using social media. So I think education has great potential.
And in the U.S., public service announcements, we do a lot of music for those. So that, again, is also something that is utilized across all social platforms.
I think it's very, very good for you. I think there is so much of innovation possibilities in education. How can we make education interesting? How can we make it desirable and not mandatory? I think it's a great format to be on.
Hi, my name's Helen, CEO of a company called Bookmark. We're an architectural product sourcing site. I'm really interested, thank you so much for the panel, I'm really interested to know, in social media, influencers are a really big thing, but no one's actually discussed that today. And I'm wanting to know whether in your own businesses, for your own companies, you use influencers, and if you actually recommend influencers to your clients.
For us, an influencer means that they just have a really large outreach and presence, and quite frankly, our artists are our influencers. So, and we help feed into that. So I think influencers are important, but I wouldn't hang my hat on my business on an influencer because, again, that could be very tepid. And, you know, from one day to the next. I understand why. Like in music, it's fashion. What are they wearing? Where were they the night before? You know, all of that is very important on our artistic side. On our brand side,
I
On the
think
brand side, they don't,
you
yeah,
have to
there's
be
no-
very careful there because
yeah.
if your influencer is seen to be influencing, your brand will hurt.
So with
See,
people like hiring
influence-
Kylie Jenner to promote.
Influence should never overlap with oversell. An influencer, I should be able to believe, is not paid by you. I think it's a very tricky area to be in.
Yeah, I mean,
It's sort of a paradox because the worth of the influencer is in the trust, the credibility. But then the moment he's paid or he or she is paid to do it, then that sort of lowers that credibility.
Right, so you're sort of saying paid influencing is a little bit different to having, you know, validation from someone using the product and then influencing the audience, which is different. Yeah.
I mean, it's really, it's very big in the music industry for artists to be wearing a certain fashion or to drive a certain car or, you know, to utilize any sort of projects or products. And quite frankly, we don't push them to use a certain product. They use what they want to use. And I think that goes to your
Yeah.
point about not being paid to utilize that.
Yeah.
They will know when they're being paid to promote a product because it's going to be in a commercial sense.
I think-
It won't be in that influencer type of hat and
I think
category.
with some very smart people in this room, when you see a movie and you see, why is this cola in this shot? You say, somebody is bloody paying for it. It had no relevance in that. So I think similarly, we are not the only smart people. The public is very smart. They're smarter than we think.
Right.
So I think you have to be very truthful, as you said earlier. If your product or your message is good, influencers will come as more credible.
Exactly.
Excuse. I know.
I think that is questionable.
I don't think
think the data supports that.
Excuse
The
me.
ladies at the back, I think someone was waiting for quite some time. Yeah, please.
Hello, my question is for Piyush ji. My name is Rubina Mazhar. And I was just wondering about the ethics involved in advertising. Do you come across any ethical issues, like maybe you don't believe that it's Abki Bar Modi Sarkar, maybe it is some other. So how do you deal with ethical issues which come out?
I think there are few topics where we have to be very careful. One is that we never fool around with religion. When we took on the BJP campaign, I actually sat down with my team to ask them, if anybody doesn't believe in it, you can do some other project. But I better have believers here. So there'll be a number of people number of actors who will never do alcohol, who will never do cigarettes. There are some who will do it. So I think ethics is something that has to come to you from within, has to be nurtured in those who work with you, and you have to be careful that nobody is crossing that thin line.
Sir, I have a question here. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Abhijit. I have started recently a social network platform called as Art Bandhu. We are a social network with also bringing an experience of connecting different art and artist community. And the challenge that we went from the time we started is to connect all the artists that belong to the remote areas, remote villages, small towns, right? So alternate to online platform, we also initiated some service stations, which is in-person assistance to get people on board and provide with them services. I want to hear from you what kind of challenges and how do suggestions especially to help these artists who belong to the remote ages, right? Because helping them with all kinds of new set of information and the trends to improve their businesses, to open up opportunities, jobs, artistic jobs, right? So all that, a bigger entity out there. So your suggestions, please.
It's a very noble cause that you are actually following. To me, off the cuff, I think there is nothing better for you than demonstration. Start small, make a model, make it successful, so that the people that work with you in remote places there's something to share that so many artists benefited. So why don't you come on board? So I think certain things will have to be demonstrated more than anything else. Nothing succeeds like success.
When we were building our brand and trying to attract artists to work with us, we had to be able to gain some success. So we started exactly as this. We had a very firm model. We worked with some very notable artists, and to attract others, we said, look at the success that we've had here. We can do the same with you, because if you believe in their music, yes, you can. And then through the social media, through the way of branding, you can bring that reality of success and global viewership to your artists. I think it's wonderful.
We'll take one last question
hi,
there.
My name is Vana.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I have an IT company named AdDrive. So my question is, there are many products in the market which we really don't need, especially in the food industry. So there are so many products which are harmful for us. And even kids are getting acquainted to it, so which is minimizing the age lifespan. So do you think that we should have some board which has to control all these products, and it's high time to take serious about all these things? And I think this is a right question for you.
I think there is a structure, there is a law. When it comes to food products, it is very strict law. Even the largest of international companies are scrutinized. So there is a law. I think...
unfortunately, it's not happening.
And there is a consumer protection section. They advertise like maniacs on television, Jago, Grahak, Jago. So you don't have to be worried about it. You should be confident of yourself that this thing is not correct. I will take it to the right authority and bring it to their notice.
So there should be a process.
The system exists. It is not that I can brand something which is a cough syrup and sell it from a shop. I will have to go through the verification.
Yeah, we're almost out of time, so closing thoughts, Teresa, if you could.
I would say, as a takeaway, be patient, be consistent, and know your brand. And I would encourage you to network with other like entities to know what their best practice is, and also know who your competitors are, know who they are in your space, so that you can learn from that experience. And you might find that there is a collaboration that will help propel what it is that you want to do and the message you want to get out.
How many cricket lovers in this room?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your cricket.
So I would like you all to be Virat Kohlis. Why Virat Kohli? Because he's the only guy who plays all three formats of the game, from test match to 50 overs to 20 overs. And that's precisely what you should be doing. There is traditional media, there is social media, there's Instagram. Play it all and play it well.
Yeah.
Get the game right.
Fantastic, fantastic thoughts from both Teresa and Piyushji here, and great questions from the audience. This debate will continue. You know, technology is constantly changing, constantly evolving. Platforms that people thought would dominate, last decade have sort of vanished, and we have completely new formats and new media, that have captured the imagination of the people. So you will, the one constant, as Piyushji kept saying, is the message, the soul of the message. Be honest, be truthful. And I also want to thank the organizers, the Indian government, the US government, for putting together this fantastic format for entrepreneurship with a focus on women. Great to see so many women here asking questions. So I'm sure the conference was a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Shashi. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Teresa.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Four level on the hand is